All right. Good evening. This is Penelope Flynn and the remainder of the Blerdsassins Next Door. Got Sonia, Otto, and Nikki. And we are coming off of a really bad sick week where I have been sick and Otto has been sick and Nikki's been sick. I don't know if Sonia's been sick, but everybody in this house has been sick. And now we're trying to fight our way through it. I'm a little bit better, but not so much better than I'm going on screen. So we have here everybody with their little avatars. We're waiting for Cranston to show up. I hope, cross my fingers, and ready to get started with our in honor of the Olympic trials beginning this week. We are going to talk about our favorite Greek mythology based films. So everybody, hold on. You have these moments to sit down and figure out all your Greek mythology films. And we are going to do every week, which is talk about the weather. So, Sonia, top right, from my perspective, how is your weather?
It's actually quite wonderful. It was in the 70s today. It rained all day, so it kept it nice and cool. The only thing is, we heard that there was an earthquake on the east side of town.
Wow.
Didn't feel it, didn't send anything. I guess you had to be there to actually at that near the epicenter, but
Wow.
supposedly there was an earthquake up here.
Interesting. Okay. And Nikki, how about the weather for you?
Well, excuse me. I'm still here in Dallas, but I look and the weather in Fort Lauderdale, it's nice. It's sunny and it's like about 90 some degrees.
Hmm. I can live without the 90 some degrees. I would take sunny, but I'm done with 90 some degrees. I had enough of that here.
All right.
Otto, how about you? Oh, he can't talk. So I will be Otto. It's hot. It is so very hot. I just don't know why it's so hot, but it is. I don't like it. So we have here Otto also put in the chat room Olympic trials, 34 convictions. Very good. Very good. Okay. So here we go. Now, everyone knows the Olympics are going to be in Paris this year. Everybody is gearing up. We are having our Olympic trials in the US for the Summer Olympics to identify who of our best young, older athletes are going to be proceeding to Paris to represent this country. And in honor of all of their hard work, we are going to look at other hard work, like labors of Hercules type work, and determine what our favorite Greek mythology based films are. Now, understand that a lot of these films that are based on Greek mythology, they kind of fast and loose a little bit with some of the plots and things, but still good, still fun. Um, I'm looking here in our private chat. Oh yeah, Ottawa says in here, isn't Paris a Greek name based on mythology? It is indeed, because Paris, as we know, was the individual from um, Troy who stole Helen and took her away from her family in Greece, and that's what the Trojan War was all about. That Paris decided that he was in love with her, in lust with her, desired her, wanted to have her, got her, left town. Her husband, Menelaus, was not very pleased. And so this thing, which, in all other instances would be just, some crazy extramarital figure, becomes this giant war between the Achaeans and the Trojans. And there's so much, pop culture that comes out of references from the Trojan War. So, yes, Paris is a Greek name based on mythology. Thank you, thank you. Now, I don't know if everybody else watched these Greek mythology based films, and some of them you probably remember. Go, oh yeah, that is Greek mythology. So I don't know if you want to start, Sonia, or not. If you have one in mind. If not, I'm going to go through Otto's list and start with him. Some of these, once I say them, you're like, oh yeah. All right, Sonia.
I've got two that are always watched in my Well, one's now become a family tradition. The other one, you got to watch Clash of the Titans with Harry Hamlin.
Okay, okay. And so why, pray tell, are we watching Clash of the Titans with Harry Hamlin? Because
Because It
Oh,
mixed, yeah, yeah. Other than the fact that Harry Hamlin was a delicious looking young man, at the time,
uh-huh.
it had the Ray Harryhausen effects that my
Ah,
mother remembered growing up.
very good. And also, we would know those of us who like watched all the celebrity talk during the time that during that filming, that Ursula Andress was playing what? Was she either Aphrodite or was she Hera? I can't remember which one, but that Ursula Andress was dating Harry Hamlin at the time. And
Yes,
people were, like, oh my goodness, because it's this huge age gap between Ursula Andress and but she was like supposed to be this big screen goddess, and so it was a thing. It was a thing. So I remember
yes,
that, but also the fact that the film was pretty bad because they had
yes.
that little owl. Was it a uh
The Clockwork Owl.
oh yeah, walking around saying things, doing things. Um, and I guess he was supposed to be Perseus, and he was supposed to kill the Gorgon or something in that. The all these little tales, woven in there. So yeah, Clash of the Titans is definitely a film that many people either I mean, I'm sure many people know that it is a Greek mythology based film, but if you didn't, now you do. All right. All right. What's your number two?
We just, well, not just, but in the past year, we watched Percy Jackson and the
Oh,
Olympians on Disney Plus, and
oh,
I didn't see the movie that came out first, but this one definitely had more input from the author. Was Royden? I can
mm-hmm,
never pronounce his name when I'm thinking about it. Um, I remember being curious because the toxic fans got even more toxic when they announced that it was a black young lady who was going to play a role that was supposed to be, I think, Hera's daughter.
hmm.
And I went, and your point. Well, that's not how he wrote it in the book. So the author's not on social media, but his wife is. And he was like, here is a note directly from him. I picked her.
So
And that
now what?
effectively shut up all of the fanboys.
Yeah,
One sentence, 3 words, done.
and that's the end. Okay, so there we go. That's wonderful. So you saw that one? Did you like it?
I liked it. I did get teary at the end because the actor who plays Zeus, I'm blanking out on his name as well because I'm thinking too hard. It's the black actor that just recently played that was in John Wick
Oh,
and all that.
oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he
Oh,
played Zeus, and
oh
his
no.
very last line, knowing that this is his last project he worked on, his very last ones, I never want to see him again.
Wow,
I lost it.
that's so sad. Oh my gosh, what's his name again? Otto, who did the corporate, who plays the
In Fringe, and I can name all his credits.
but I know I'm like right now, I'm seeing his face, and I am not being able to recall his name. I will wait. It's supposed to be the L or so. I can't remember. All right, but we'll get it. We'll get it, and we'll go. Oh yes, of course. Now the second. I mean, well, that was your first and your second. Now I know one that you would have said. Um, you already you gave us Clash of the Titans, but of course the precursor to that would be Jason and the Argonauts, another Ray Harryhausen, which was done in the 60s, I guess 60, early 60s, late 50s. What a great film. When it comes on, I watch it. When I was a kid, I watched it. When I was an older kid, I watched it. When I was a young adult, I watched it and still watch it. And I mean, the Ray Harryhausen animation, of course, is classic. But the one scene with when the king sews the Hydra's teeth and grows the army of the Hydra's teeth, that scene is just iconic. And they're having to fight the skeletons because the they come up out of the ground. There are these skeletons that are fighting with their swords and the shields. What a great! I mean, just classic, just classic. So yeah, that would be on my list. Jason the Argonauts. This is coming off of Otto's list. Okay. Um, Another thing that he has on here is blah, blah, blah. Oh, he says there Medea's dad is the one who sews the Hydra's teeth. Yes. Um, but what is it? The King of Colchis who sews the Hydra's teeth does that thing. All right. Now this is one that's very interesting that Otto has posted. I'm reading them in the private chat. Is Shazam. So if you saw the most recent iteration of Shazam, you'll see that the characters in Shazam that he and his siblings are based upon Greek mythological characters. So yeah, I would not have thought of Shazam. So yeah, that's big ups to you, Otto. I really think that is very cool. Yeah, absolutely. Shazam. Um, Also, he has indicated Hercules. Now, there are like 100,000 Hercules films. And also, what is they used to have? Ulysses. So if you read the Odyssey, you know, you when you get what the Greek term Odysseus, in the Odyssey, but it's also Ulysses. So yeah, so that character, and they have him as a little bit different in some of those what do you call those action films? The what's it, sword and sandal films. There's more of like an action hero than this traveler going from one point to the other. And maybe they have somebody's going from one point to the other. But we have those uh, Odysseus films and Ulysses films, and some of them are very good, some of them are very bad. So you have to pick and choose. And I would say, even if you get one that's pretty bad, it's an experience to be able to say, oh, that was pretty bad. Um, and oh, who has a power ring? Is it Odysseus that or Ulysses' power ring? Who's got the power ring? I don't. Or are you talking about Hercules in the Translux cartoon? Who has the power ring? Hercules. Did anybody? I know now, Nikki. I know you're listening. You need to come on in because you need to sing the song, the Hercules song. Come on, come on, unmute and sing the Hercules song. Oh my gosh, look at her. She will not unmute and sing the Hercules song. I'm gonna remember this. You know, the one that what is his name? Johnny. Who's it? Who sings it? Who sings the song?
That
Johnny Nash. Johnny Nash. Hercules. That one. Remember
that
that?
one I don't.
Johnny Nash sings that
Johnny
on.
Nash. Okay, go ahead. Now sing it.
Yes. Huh?
Sing it.
Not sounding the way I sound now.
Come
Sorry.
on.
Can't do it, Penelope. Not this. I'll
Oh
do it
my
for
God.
you. I'll do it for you next week when I feel better.
Okay, all right. I mean, but it's like, what is it? Softness in his eyes, fire in his thighs. What is it? Virtue in his heart, fire in
No,
every
no, no,
part
no, no, no.
of the mighty
No, with the strength of 10
Hercules.
ordinary men.
What?
With the strength of 10
I didn't
ordinary
start at the
men.
beginning. It's like, okay, wait, Mr. Hercules. What is that? Something of song and story. Hercules, something of ancient glory. What'd you say? What's the part you said?
Fighting for his right, fighting with his might, with the
With the
strength of
strength of
10
10
ordinary
ordinary
men.
men. Yeah. Hercules. What is it? Something, 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 something. Hercules. Only the evil fear him. And then you do
Uh,
the softness in
I'm
his
going to get
eyes.
off for a few minutes, Penelope. I'll be back on in a second, okay?
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
bye
But
bye.
that. Okay, yes. And we know that Johnny Nash, as Otto was saying in the private chat, because he cannot talk very well because he's got laryngitis from being sick. I can see clearly now. Remember the song? I can see clearly
Clearly now the
now.
rain is gone.
Exactly.
All of the doubt that
Yeah.
had me down.
He sang the theme song for Hercules. So, and then they had, what is that thing called? That little fawn? What is he? What was his name? He's like, oh gosh, I see him, but I cannot remember his name because he was Hercules. Herc.
That was
And okay, and uh, Otto has put a link in the private chat. I'm going to throw it in the comments. So I'm hoping that those who are in the room can see this YouTube link to whatever that is. I'm pretty certain it's probably either the song or the
it's the
show.
song.
The
It's the song.
song for Hercules. I mean, all those of us come home from school. This is one of those cartoons that we would see when we came home at the end of the day. That was it was when you're supposed to be doing your homework. So it's like your background music to doing your homework. Very good. Okay, I'm gonna go up here and all right now you have Hercules, Samson, and Achilles. Now is that a movie or are those three persons who had separate movies? I thought it's Sir Hercules, Samson, and Ulysses. That's the one I remember. Hercules, Samson, and Achilles, or Hercules, Samson, and Ulysses? I'm waiting for a response from Otto about that because I think the one I remember was, and then they had the ones like Ulysses, and it was just Ulysses. That was very old, 60s, I guess, because I remember probably the 70s seeing it. I don't think it was in the movies at the time, in the theaters at the time, but it was probably playing on television or something. Uh, he says Sword of Sandals movie. It was on TCM. One of the worst cartoons. He said also about the Hercules. But you know what? I bet you one thing's for sure that you sure learned how to pronounce the name Daedalus because they pronounced it on that show. And before that, I had read it many times, had not actually heard somebody say it. So I thank the Hercules show for teaching me how to pronounce the name Daedalus. So for nothing else, thank you, Translux Hercules. All right, now we're thinking back, what else films did we watch, television shows did we watch that have our Greek mythology base that we all kind of enjoyed? Now,
Okay.
it's really, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the mix of mix of Greek and Roman and anything in between were the Hercules and Xena TV shows,
That's true. Yeah.
where everybody was the wrong names for everything and everything.
Well, Aries, he was no what he's supposed to be, correct?
Yes, but some of the other they got basically some of the names wrong, but there's slight differences between the stories, and the stories didn't quite come out right.
Yeah, they just kind of just use the basics and then kind of,
Right.
just yeah, that's what it is. And there we go.
Of
Um,
course, the Xena ones were a little bit closer to the stories that we all grew up with.
yes, yes. So yeah, that's Xena. That's it, Xena, and what's
Xena
the
Gabrielle, um, Jockster, the Ted Raimi played Jockster. Um, Michael, Kevin Smith, the other actor, played Aries.
Aries? The only one I wanted to see on the show. Thank you. The end. Goodbye.
He was a
Um,
very sweet man before. I just regret that he's gone.
yeah.
Um, that
Now,
was a
have
shame.
now with the other movie is a movie that was not good, but it is based on the Greek mythology, and that is, what is it? Troy, the film.
Yeah, the Brad Pitt one.
Yeah,
Yeah, the one that I fell asleep in.
it's like I just thought the route they took on it was, not it wasn't very truthful. But I mean, they take a lot of latitude when they create these films. So, oh yeah, Jim Henson's Greek myths. This is what Otto has put in the private chat, and that is marvelous. If you can get your hands on a copy of Jim Henson's Greek myths. If you find it streaming somewhere, watch Jim Henson's Greek myths. It is masterful. Um, John Hurt was the narrator of the fairy tales, that such, which was also, fantastic. The Greek myths, I cannot understand. I can't recall who it was that was the narrator, and maybe Otto, you can check it. But wow, some of it was very dark, very good, seemed very true to the actual Greek myth, and certainly, I mean, the story of Icarus and Daedalus, my gosh, they just put it all out there. I mean, that was just, gut wrenching, just but so well done. So if you have an opportunity ever to get your hands on Jim Henson's Greek Myths, again, it may be streaming, it may be somewhere you can go get it, on some store on a CD, DVD. I mean DVD. Don't hesitate. Grab it. You will be thrilled. The other thing that um, Otto named was the Apollo episode from Star Trek, where the I don't know what she is, a nurse, yeoman, something or other, who, for whatever reason, has an attachment with Scotty. They go down to this planet, and then you have this entity who says that he is the god Apollo. And you all need to worship me, like right this second. He was not playing around. So, yes, that even in our Star Trek universe, we are still um, grabbing bits and pieces
And
of
for the
Greek
for,
mythology.
oops, I was going to say for the purists, the episode is called "Who Mourns Adonis."
Yes, which is kind of interesting since he was Apollo and not Adonis. But oh well, I don't, that's one of those things. And I'm going down. I'm trying to go up and down to make sure I'm catching things. I got to change over to the other comments.
Well, I was going to say the adjacent ones are like Sinbad. When they realized they could make money off the Greek myths, they went to Sinbad and other countries to
Yeah, but Sinbad is
Europeanize their
different.
shows.
Yeah, but Sinbad is different because it's not based on Greek mythology. It's based
Yeah,
on
but but they tweaked some of the stuff so that it was more representative of European culture.
mm, how unfortunate. Um, I was looking at Screen Rant's list, and they have here, "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" which someone
Odysseus.
said was supposed to be an Odyssey type
Yeah.
um, storyline, based on the epic poem, the Odyssey, even though I believe that neither Joel nor Ethan Cohen had read the Odyssey. So I think it'd be very difficult for them to do that without having actually read it. So,
But that
but
would be very Hollywood.
yeah, I like the title and I want to use it and I'm using it, right? I don't know, having only seen like bits and parts of it, but of course, there are always stories regarding Orpheus. And I don't know how much Black Orpheus um, parroted the actual Orpheus story of Orpheus and Eurydice. So we don't know. The Iliad and the Odyssey. I know the Iliad and the Odyssey. Is there a film that's the Iliad and a film that is the Odyssey? I mean, I'm sure there are many takeoffs on the Iliad and the Odyssey. Which is the one that Michael Douglas was in? Was it the Odyssey? Was he Odysseus? I think he was. I don't know if the name was the Odyssey, but I'm pretty certain that he played the role of Odysseus. And we also have the 1997 Disney Hercules film, which had, the really uh, bouncy soundtrack with all the songs that everybody liked. So that was really nice. Also, which were the first things that we thought of on our list, Wonder Woman, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because Wonder Woman, the Amazons are part of Greek mythology. Um, the Amazons, of course, live on their island, separated from all society, all men, and are all alone until there is this guy who becomes marooned there. Where I guess in the old golden age, it was Major Steve Trevor. I guess in all these things, it's Major Steve Trevor. Right?
Yes. And
So,
she gives up her entire world to go be with him.
mhm. Now it's very interesting to me that they have on this the one Screen Rant list, they have the film 300, but 300 is not really Greek mythology the way I see it, because it really is just about Sparta, trying to push back against an incursion, where they say, oh, the 300, but the 300 basically, they did a stand in a bottleneck. So even if you have 3,000 soldiers and they're going through the bottleneck, only a certain amount of soldiers can go through anyway. So, I mean, they make it sound it's an impressive thing, but it really isn't that. Um, but yes, 300 they have on here. But again, I think it's based more on um, the story of the 300 and not so much about, you know, the Greek mythology itself. It's, Greek history, not Greek mythology. But some of it may have been stretched. I think they, really are given a lot of uh, extra, what do you call it? Extra, um, the word stuck in my head. Um, Credence to it as myth and when it's more history. All right. Oh, I know what they list. They have an honorable mention for Hercules in New York, which is an Arnold Schwarzenegger film.
Yeah,
So that's
there
interesting.
were a lot of those types of films.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. This is interesting. Of course, your film, Percy Jackson's films were, Percy Jackson, Olympians, The Lightning Thief, and that's one of the people's
Yeah,
favorite.
those were the movies made before the TV series.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are, I remember a friend of mine say, "Oh, this is really, good. You should watch this." And we said, "Okay," and that's what we did. Now, I think that the most of us, like when we talk about this, when we're saying these films and this and that, we're mentioning these people. A lot of times we don't realize that a lot of people did not grow up reading about Greek myths or reading, Greek mythology, and that was something that was a huge pastime of mine. Reading, the Greek myths, learning about the gods, the Olympians, as opposed to the Titans, who came
Mhm.
before them and who they deposed and then took over. So when I was young, basically what we learned, said Sparta just like I Claudius. Okay, yeah, kind of. Is out of saying just like I Claudius. You know. So we have these tales that are created, and this is the understanding I got when I was growing up, so that human beings could have an understanding of the natural world, but through their understanding of these characters who are um, uh, again, the word just forgot about my mouth is like dry.
Yeah, it was easier to believe that Zeus was throwing down lightning bolts than trying to explain the chemistry and the
Science.
physics and all of that
We're
stuff.
not just in the science. The man up there throwing them bolts. Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Okay, sounds right to me. Um, anthropomorphic, the anthropomorphic gods, and all these things, nature made into humanoid form, and to explain, our like desires, our fears, our hopes, how to deal with disappointment. And say, Otto says, "Who is that sleeping with my wife?" Zeus.
Yeah,
A lot.
that's why. Yeah, you can't argue if Zeus is sleeping with your
Yeah,
wife.
it was Zeus. It wasn't me. It was Zeus. I was just here holding the window open for Zeus. It wasn't me. But I mean, you have all these different elements, uh, characters, creatures that come from Greek mythology that are woven into the tapestry of our literature, art. Like, of course, uh, the Minotaur, that Theseus has to slay because he has to basically go to the labyrinth and try to find the Minotaur and slay him basically in his own den. And just, I mean, the whole story, if you have not read it, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it is a very interesting story. A lot of different parts to it. So I would say, yeah, definitely get your
Uh,
hands on a copy. You didn't like the Theseus story?
I was gonna say, the labyrinth with Jason, Jim Henson's labyrinth took liberties with the story, changed the story to the romantics version, but it was very much based on the Minotaur story where the good guy had to get out of this maze to survive, just like the young lady in Labyrinth.
Yeah, but in Labyrinth, was it hers dealing with a goblin?
But it was Labyrinth was created by the Minotaur guy. I can't remember
Created by
who it was.
Daedalus.
Yeah, he just took it over.
Yeah, well, he was put there because it was
Mhm.
created specifically for the Minotaur. Because
Right.
Parsippate, who was the wife of the king, had this desire to have sex with this bull, this, craving to have sex with this bull. So they created this cow's body, which she was put into the cow's body so that then she could copulate with the bull. And after said copulation, she became pregnant and gave birth to the monster, the Minotaur. And when this monster was born, and the king had him placed in the labyrinth, where he was set apart, from everyone and everything because he was,
A
of course,
monster.
a monster. He was a bastard. I wonder if you'd have treated him the same way if he had actually been his own son. Would that have been the treatment that he would have
Or
received?
if it had been Zeus's child.
Yeah,
That old Zeus.
yeah, and who knows, right? So, now, I mean, and again, we talked about Icarus and Daedalus, and I believe that what happened was after Daedalus left, um, wherever the heck he was when he ended up losing his son, that he ended up in Crete, and this is where the story of the Minotaur takes place. So, yeah, there's a lot of stories that we stop one and we pick up somebody later. And Otto says a cock and bull story.
Ha 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 ha.
Anyway,
He's
okay,
so funny.
he really is just a real thrillsville. But again, all these characters or these creatures or items, for instance, the golden fleece, the story of Jason the Argonauts, that they cross the world to go to Colchis to find this golden fleece, which is supposed to bring prosperity because it brought prosperity to the people of Colchis. And so he's told by Hera that you got to cross, the ocean, get this thing, bring it back. But in doing so, it causes so much harm. And he is so focused on glory that he doesn't even ask the questions about, okay, I hear about the glory part, but what are some of the possible harms that can come from this escapade? And a lot of it is kind of like what happens to other people, on the way to Colchis. They stop on an island, and Hercules is one of the individuals that is abandoned there because his partner, companion, we would call him, does not, um, he's lost there. So he's looking for him, but doesn't make it back to the ship, and they can't stay. But the issue is that if he did not leave at that point and continue on his own, then the whole 12 Labors of Hercules would never have come about because his story may have been very different. So all these, kind of touch on each other, mix with each other. You know, it's a lot of fun if you have read them. Oh, I read them back when I was very young. Then, of course, in college, you pick up things like the Odyssey, the Iliad, and the Aeneid. So, all those things, tell us about, basically the destruction of empires and the rise of empires. Troy is destroyed, in the Iliad, but the Aeneid is the story of the founding of Rome. So all of these stories, you know, they go from mythology and slide into some of it into history. So it's kind of interesting. Okay. Oh, then Otto was saying that dude that put you in the bed and either stretches you or cut off your legs. Nice cologne too. What in the
Oh,
world? I know the guy the thing they put you in the bed. That's a
it
Percy.
was yeah, it was in Percy Jackson too, and I
Yeah,
cannot remember the name of the.
it's a it's a Theseus story, right? That's a Theseus story where he gets caught and the guy puts him on the thing and says, I don't think you do this, blah blah, and he gets put on there and he does to him what he was doing to everyone else. But Theseus's life could not have been perfect because he did a thing that was very bad, which was he abandoned Ariadne, his wife, on an island so that the girl who he had escaped with, Ariadne, who helped him get through the labyrinth. So he just dumped Ariadne and went home. But he was so happy about the fact that he went home and dumped Ariadne that he forgot to change the color of the sails on the ships on his return. So his father was waiting to see the white sails, but they left with the black sails. And when his father looked out and saw the black sails, because he forgot to change them to white sails, then he threw himself off the parapet and died. That's what happens when you don't change the sails, basically.
All in the details.
Aeneid or Antaeus, yes, is a great color. Antaeus, also a Greek myth, because Antaeus is a giant. And remember the story of Hercules and Antaeus got into a battle. And in this battle, Hercules slays Antaeus. And Antaeus, although he is this giant and he's strong and doing all his acts, he is very kind and gentle to those around him. And so they're these little people, who are the pygmies, or they're called, I don't know what to call them in mythology. But Hercules falls asleep and he wakes up to being tied down and his hair on fire. And all these soldiers are there to declare war on him for killing their brother Antaeus. And so, of course, it'd be very easy for him to just, kill them, but he's just so verklempt about the fact that they are ready to put down their lives because of his murder of, their brother Antaeus, that he just, said, apologizes and leaves. So yes, I didn't know there's an Aeneid cologne. Who makes that? I do remember Antaeus though, and was talking about those characters like um, uh, Hercules and his 12 labors, then that takes you along to people like Atlas. You know, the you don't get to see too many films regarding just characters like Atlas. They're always like, some side character, some side quest. You know, when he has to get one of the golden apples, but he can't enter the Garden of the Hesperides in order to get the apple. But Atlas can enter the garden to get. So he says, "Hey, Atlas, I'm going to hold the world for you if you go get me that apple." Atlas says, "Okay, sure, I'll do that for you." So he heads out to get the apple and comes back with said apple and then said, "You know what? I don't think I want to take that world holding job back anymore. You're doing a great job." So, of course, with Guile, which is pretty much nearly unseen with Hercules, he is not a Guile person. But with Guile, he convinces Atlas to take back, the weight of the world, and he is able to continue on his journey. So I think I saw a 12 Labors of Hercules film. I cannot remember who was in it, but there was one that was pretty, spot on with regard to storyline. I'll look it up and see if I can find. It may have been called like the 12 Labors of Hercules.
I
Although the
remember that the TV series with Kevin Sorbo initially started as the
Labors
um,
of Hercules.
12 labors. That was what the
Hmm.
series, the first season of the series was. And then when they started taking liberties at this, I kind of went, now wait a minute.
Okay.
And they
Yeah.
also did a young Hercules story. And I can't remember who was in the young Hercules.
Huh. Was it?
It was a
Um.
spin off of the TV show.
Oh, really?
It
I didn't.
wasn't, yeah. I'm
Never.
looking it up because I can't remember
Hmm,
who played what.
that's interesting. I didn't know that there was, but it makes sense that they would do something like that.
Ryan Gosling. That's it. That's I was like,
Ryan Gosling. Okay, that sounds interesting. I know Kevin Sorbo playing the role of Hercules. I always saw that and always said to myself, you know, I hate, uh, Kevin Smith took such a, early end because he was fantastic as Hercules instead of Sorbo. Although they kind of like all were going on around the same time. And Sorbo always looked kind of thin to me. He always looked on the small side. So to me, he always looked like a smallish Hercules. And he said, and Otto says, horrible. I am in agreement. That I think, yeah, he was just kind of a little slight.
the first season is that they put people around him.
Mm,
So um, I'm trying to see Kevin Smith. Yeah, it was Riverworld when he passed.
mm,
That's when I met him, just before he passed. Um, I'm trying to remember the character he played. He played Hercules' half brother. He played the two half brothers in the
mm,
show, and I always wanted a spin off of the second, the human half brother.
mm.
What's it like to be in Hercules' shadow?
Huh.
Is what I wanted to know, and I'm trying to find.
Steve Reeves as Hercules. Which one is that, Otto?
That
Oh,
was
that's the
the
sword and sandal one. Steve
yeah.
Reeves. Okay, I remember back when I was a young youngster. Yes. All right. So the thing I would think about, like, let's think about this. We talked about Wonder Woman, right? And of course, you have, a Medea film that was done by, oh, what is his name? Ingmar Bergman. It was very sad and terrible that I saw it, and just that ruined an entire like several years for me of my life. It's just too close. Um, what other female-based mythology films are there that are out there, or television shows that are out there? I remember they had. I was thinking of one, but no, that's not correct. The Hercules was a child molester. Yes, Hercules was a child molester. He was a what is it people call a Romani, and they are grown ass men who have sexual relationships with boys, and they're not like they I think they try to be uh, what is the word delicate about it, but basically it's a grown ass man having sex with boys. So disgusting animal. And when he died from his wife putting the centaur's blood on his cape, and then he wrapped himself in it, and his skin started to burn off. And I said, that sounds about right for child molesters. Yeah, there we go. So yeah,
It's amazing what you got away with
yeah,
it because
just
of
because
mythology.
just because you're a person in a position of power.
Yep.
So yeah, when I saw it, read that, I said, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, it's a centaur's blood. It's working for me. Um, and of course, there's so much poverty with people or not having any access that people will let anything be done to their children, in order to put them in a position that they thought maybe themselves or their child would benefit ultimately. It's kind of a sick, sad world, man. But as I'm saying now, we have a lot of female, goddesses, but how many of them are the basis of films? Of course, you have Hera, you have Aphrodite, you have Demeter, her daughter Persephone. Um, these are all like the big, the big names. You have Iris. Um, um,
I no.
hmm?
I'm trying to remember.
Venus.
Um,
Venus is Roman,
Venus is Roman for Aphrodite.
of
That
course.
one. Yeah, I remember learning how everybody stole, and then nobody mentioned how they stole a lot of the stuff from the African mythologies.
Yeah, a lot of this comes from, yeah, a lot of African mythology. Shango is the thunderers. There's that the Zeus thing, and I guess it's we say stolen, but a lot of it is adjacency. That they're all there
Hmm.
in the same areas, and it's the same thing. Just like Zeus is Jupiter, is Shango. They're all the same. And you just go from you know area to area, and these gods just are translated from one language, one location to the other, because that's what it is. And Otto was saying the things from Africa and left us with boring stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, when I was a little girl, they weren't telling us like stories about a lot of the gods and stuff, the African gods. They would tell us those little tales like, oh, how the leopard got his spots and things that were. I mean, I did not like the Anansi stories at all when I was growing up. I was kind of like, all right, the plot, I'm getting lost here. What's and the purpose of this is what? And I couldn't understand when I was reading the Anansi stories, like, well, is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? And I think there's
Yeah,
of a lot of issues that are cultural based on region that you have to know in order to understand what's going on in the story and why it's going on in the story. So that's one thing maybe as an adult, I would look back at and see if I now having knowledge that I do have of so many more cultures than I did when I was a child, maybe it would make more sense to me now than it did when I was young.
yes, I would agree with that.
Because when you're growing up and we're growing up the use of fairy tales, we have a certain structure that we're used to. And so now it's going back to reread these things and having to understand that they don't have exactly the same structure. So you have to read it in the structure in which it is presented and not try to, manipulate it into the structure that we're used to. So I think I would like to reread them again and see, what type of response I would have.
We were told the tail, animal tales, not the god tales.
Right, right.
And the
But
god tales were much more complicated.
but I would like that. I think I would like that. I mean, and also that Orlando Jones version in American Gods, the Nancy character, but even American Gods, they do touch on all these different um, types of gods from different places, locations. And I got to say, I don't recall them really hitting on too much Greek mythology in American Gods. Correct me if you can remember.
Because the Greek gods are still sort of kind of worshipped.
Mm,
I think the point of the American gods is when they came over here, everybody but Greek got forgotten.
hmm. But I mean, I guess a lot of Greek, but I mean, but just think about something like Nancy and those things; those are not forgotten. The they didn't really. Well, I guess they did because they had what is in the Queen of Sheba, that she was a goddess um in this incarnation in the American Gods. So that would, I mean, to look back at that now and try to figure it all out, take it all apart, and see what's going on there would be interesting. I just thought that um, the show was going in one direction, and then it started doing something else, and then they just completely just lost the plot. But what a great show when it started! I mean, what a great show! Very interesting, right? And right now I'm going, coming down to like the last 10 minutes of the show. So I wanted to know, is there anything that we forgot? Any film, television show based on any of you all's favorites, or maybe not so favorite, Greek myths or Greek tales? And again, I'm still trying to think about all the uh, women that are in Greek mythology. I mean, we have, Eurydice from Orpheus and Eurydice, the Artemis, the sister of Apollo. And, a lot of times they're kind of bit players, in certain uh, films and storylines. But it seems always that stories, when we see them, are going to be based more on human beings and their connection with these god-like entities, you know?
I only remember Wonder Woman being the standout of having
Mhm.
her own separate story.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't remember any of the others
Yep.
standing out.
Yeah, because even the Wonder Woman is the character we know, but Hippolyta, her mother, is actually
Mm,
mentioned, of course, in the Greek
yeah.
mythologies. So, all this touches on it and it's kind of neat in the film, you know. Uh, what? He was saying, what was up with Odysseus's wife? What a bitch. Oh, you're out of your mind. His wife was fabulous. He was the bitch. His wife stayed there and waited for him patiently all those years with all these suitors trying to come hook up with her, telling her that her husband was certainly dead by now. But what she would do is say, okay, I am going to hook up and marry as soon as I'm done weaving this tapestry. So she was letting all those men in her house. Come on, you understand what the time period was. She had no choice. Who did she have there to protect her? Only her son, Telemachus. And he was, young. So he is not going to be there able to fight all these grown ass men who was just standing there like vultures, waiting for her to finish this tapestry so they can step into this man's house and take all his stuff. So every day she'd weave on the loom. Every night she would take it apart. And the next morning she would be starting all over again. Or wherever she left off after she took everything apart. But she was, definitely keeping her chastity with regard to her husband, who was not doing the same thing, but but had the nerve to bring his skanky butt home and then accuse her, though she was the one who had done nothing untoward, and he was the one that had. So it's like, you got to be kidding me. But, amends made, story ends. But remember, he had the hookup with Calypso, also the one with Circe. So this guy, he was out there, but she's trying to use everything she knows how to do in order to push these people back. All she gets from him is a bunch of lip and acrimony. So yeah, what a jerk.
We forgot about the Grand Dame who caused all the pain and suffering of the world. Oh, good old Pandora.
Yeah. And is there any film or movie
I'm
or
trying
show
to find one. I haven't found one yet.
you mention her and that whole concept of Prometheus, you
Uh-huh.
know, and what he is, bringing light to the world, but he does it, at great risk to himself. And he was, taken up to the top of what is the mountains, Olympus, and he was staked down, and every day, what is it, a vulture would come down and peck away and eat, what is it, his liver, gallbladder, and then it will grow back because he is a titan, he's a god, and then come back and do it every day. And ultimately, Prometheus is freed by Hercules when he's doing his 12 labors. He passes by and sees him there, and he um, breaks the chains and frees him. Um, Otto is saying that, of course, we have Prometheus, the concept of the light bringer, and also a lot of people, don't know it or make that what do you call it, the analogy. But Satan also means light bringer, and so does Lucifer, all meaning the light bringer.
I haven't seen it, but supposedly there's the Trojan Women with Katharine Hepburn
Yeah, oh my gosh,
based
that's
on the
great.
Euripides play.
That's a great play. Yeah, yeah, it's very good. And what is the after what else? So the Trojan women also has the story of Hector and Andromache, which is such what a horrible thing, that these people come in, they sneak in with their little Trojan horse and tear up your house and take all your stuff and then kill your children, and, kill all your people. What animals? What animals? And when I was in school, one of the things that they discussed is like they are when the Achaeans, the Greeks, are traveling to Troy in order to go to war. One of the places that is between them and Troy is what Milos, and so they have this discussion. It's called the Melian dialogue, where the people of Milos are trying to say, well, based on the principles that you believe in and the principles that we believe in, your attempt to like cross through and destroy our property, try to, wage this war, is antithetical to everything that you say you believe. And, the Canes listen and they listen. But the problem is that they want to do what they want to do. It doesn't matter whether it's a violation or whatever their stated principles were. So, of course, this is destroyed and they move on to Troy. So, it's very interesting that these stories about, what people do, what they say that their principles are, and ultimately they want to do something. All their principles are abandoned because they want to do what they want to do. So a lot of that you find in those Greek myths and the actual um, historical texts that are related to those Greek myths. Because understand, a lot of times these mythologies, these gods, these goddesses, entities, oracles, etc., all they are is the means that certain people use in order to justify the things that they want to do. And that's pretty much what a lot of it was. So they tell these tales first to explain how nature works in conjunction with man, and then how it is that things work. And then I use these stories about the way that things work in order to benefit me because I want something XYZ over here, which has nothing to do really with how these things work. But I will use this tale, this story, this oracle, this prophecy in order to justify my actions. Um, uh, I was saying people have no general idea how Greek and Roman themes are played out in today's terms. But I think say what well give me one a mythology or something and we can try to break it down very quickly because I know we're at about trying to go. Um but I think let's think about things like this. There's one that we always use, the Trojan horse. Everybody knows what that is.
Mhm.
Something that you gather
See,
into um your I guess your home, your base, and it is actually something very harmful. So the
they
concept,
even use it for selling candy cookies now.
yeah, the people know what's Trojan horse, but not the story. That's right. They know
Mhm.
what a Trojan horse is, but not the fact of the story that the Achaeans were losing the Trojan War. Troy had huge walls that they could not penetrate. So they're there and they're yelling, hollering, yammering, throwing spears, making a lot of noise. But basically, when the Trojans come out to fight, they turn around, they go back inside, and they close the door, and you can't come in. So you're wasting your men, you're wasting your reserves, all these things, but you can't get into Troy where they have all their reserves. So they had an idea that they would go to Troy and they said, okay, we surrender. There's a terrible thing that's happened between us. And in order to show you how much we surrender, we are going to give this gift of this horse. And so this giant hollow horse that they have built, they have it open, of course, and inside the horse are all their army. So the Trojans, being, I guess, to some extent, a little bit arrogant, take this horse, this gift from the Achaeans, who said that they have surrendered and they're going to go on home. So at night, when they're all asleep, the Achaeans, the Greek army, rush out of this Trojan horse and basically set flame to Troy. So, I mean, again, Trojan horse, very harmful thing. You accept it as a gift, and because they believed them, they thought they had honor, and the Achaeans, of course, were not honorable. If they had been honorable, they would not have come at all. But they lacked honor from the beginning of the trip all the way to the end of the trip. So this was something that the Trojans should have expected, but they did not. Um, what is that? Weird. People know that it's Trojan horses, but not the story, which is a weird thing to name condoms. Just like condoms, yeah, that's right. It's like the thing in there, and it's supposed to be a no. We don't want you. Don't want your payload. Thank you. You can keep that. They have no desire for that. Thank you very much, Otto. So that's why there's the condoms. You know, we don't want that. Okay, no. Keep your payload. Take it back with you where you come from. So we are looking at our time. We are about now finished. We came. I mean, I got to tell you, I really appreciate those who all come by to listen in. Our situation was really kind of crazy because we have been sick all week. And Otto, who usually is, very much a chatterbox, has laryngitis and can barely speak. So he has been in the private chat kind of posting stuff, and I've been trying to, get the general tenor of what it is that he's saying here in this private chat. In addition, Cranston is not here, which is cray cray because Cranston would know all this stuff. He'd be, telling us everything about the Greek mythologies, and we'd be going back and forth. It'd been a lot of fun, but unfortunately, we're not here with Cranston. And certainly, those who are in the uh, YouTube channel on our YouTube channel, you know, like, subscribe. You know what they always say to people, and certainly, if you had something to say, you want to our comments. You can become commenting all along. If you want to hang out with us, let us know so we can send you a link if you want to come join us and talk um, in the otherhood. If you want to become one of our Blerdsassins Next Door, let us know. So thank you all so much for being here this weekend. Again, it was kind of a crazy one. Um, we'll be back again next week. Depending on what's going on in the Olympics, we may do a reprise of this adding some other things that we see when we're going through these Olympic trials. If you have any topics that you want to discuss, let us know. We are always open to that. And you can contact me at Penelope at penelopeflynn.com or catch me on Facebook. Um, and that's probably better. Facebook.
Or write in the comments so that
Yeah,
other people will
comments.
see it.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good thing. We can do that as well. Comments, comments. So, again, have a wonderful remainder of your weekend. Have a very pleasant and profitable next week. And we will see you again right here next weekend in the Otherhood. Take care of yourselves and good night.
Good night.